Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Thomas. Tonight we're back here with partsFUNknown. This is the 10 most controversial wrestling moments of 2012, or 2022. Sorry. Stuck in the last decade. Anyway, so yeah, these are mostly the controversial moments from this year, or this past year, considering this time. Like, we're near the end of the year, so almost there. So yeah, these are pretty much I think I could think of a few moments. I'm not sure if Punk's, media scrum is going to be on here, but probably. Those two, man, that was a bad one. Not to mention Vince McMahon's resignation from WWE, which, that was a big surprise. So, how about we take a look back and see which one riled up the people the most. So, be sure to like, subscribe for more. Hope you enjoy. Let's check out the most controversial moments of this last year.
Controversy creates cash, so says WCW head honcho Eric Bischoff. But from my experience with the year of our Lord 2022, controversy is bloody exhausting. At every turn this year, there has been something else coming up to keep the wrestling business on its toes, and I think we can all agree that what the wrestling business needs is a nice, peaceful 2023. Just as we wanted 2022 to be the relaxing year of normalcy after 2021, and 2020, and man, 2019 was nuts too. Oh god, we're just going to keep getting more and more ridiculousness every time we take a trip around the sun until the cosmic death of the universe comes for us all, aren't we? Well, that seems like a very cheery way to kick off the most wonderful time of the year. Nothing says holiday spirit quite like controversy. I'm Tempest, hailing from partsFUNknown, and these are the 10 most controversial wrestling moments of 2022. But before we get on with our list, make sure, of course, that you like this video, subscribe, and enable notifications to always on so you never miss a fun list just like it. And make sure to watch Survival Series here on partsFUNknown. We may or may not have another episode coming soon, so you better get caught up.
I might check that out later.
Number 10, Brian Kendrick says dumb shit. All Elite Wrestling has had more than its fair share of controversial moments throughout 2022, most of which we'll get to, don't you worry. But one of the earliest moments on this list was one AEW was actually able to get out in front of. Following the Brian Kendrick's departure from WWE as a producer in February, he was immediately announced for a match on AEW Dynamite with the recently returned Jon Moxley. That match, however, never took place, as after it was announced, old clips of Kendrick saying really dumb shit resurfaced.
How bad?
Some of it was just dumb shit of the regular variety. The moon being a space station, the sun not being hot, the world being run by a race of lizards, all harmless yet terribly frightening nonsense. The dumb shit like denying the existence of the 2012 Sandy Hook school shooting and saying the number of Jewish people killed during the Holocaust was exaggerated, however, considerably.
I guess he was watching a little too much
These old quotes got the Kendrick match removed from Dynamite, and he hasn't wrestled since. He was brought in by WWE to produce Ronda Rousey's match at Survivor Series upon her request, as Kendrick was her former trainer, but he was not rehired.
Yeah, probably not hiring him.
Tyrus wins the NWA Championship. If controversy creates cash, Billy Corgan and the NWA certainly wanted to test that theory in 2022. The NWA is probably the deadest brand going in wrestling and has been for most of the last 3 decades. While they did have a few strands of goodwill with the all-female Empower event, they have since done everything in their NWA power to destroy that goodwill with asinine quotes and decisions like this. While other promotions continue to showcase many of the best young stars of the independent scene, and many of the top promotions continue to put on the kind of match that brings in the big gates and buy rates, the NWA has done neither, instead promoting Tyrus versus Trevor Murdoch versus Matt Cardona for their Hard Times pay-per-view in November. Worse still, in the tone-deaf booking decision of the year, the NWA decided notable prick Tyrus was their top choice to represent the company. Naturally, Corgan insisted it was not Tyrus's exposure on Fox News that got him the push, but rather his wrestling ability. Editor, insert the clip of Tyrus falling on his old, unathletic ass here, please. Harley Race, Terry Funk, Dusty Rhodes, and Tyrus's untalented ass.
Yeah, not good.
8, Jonathan Gresham quits Ring of Honor. There are varying levels of controversy when looking at those who left AEW in 2022. On one end, you have Cody Rhodes, who, while shocking, uncontroversially worked without a contract and put over a young star on the way out before making his way to WWE. On the other end, you have the madness in September that could have convinced Tony Khan not to long-term book ever again, and then you have Jonathan Gresham right in the middle. Gresham was the man who won the interim ROH World Championship at Final Battle 2021 before signing on to AEW's version of Ring of Honor, unifying the titles with Bandito's championship at Supercard of Honor. Unfortunately, we saw very little of Gresham in AEW. A couple of title defenses against Dalton Castle and Lee Moriarty aside, he hadn't done much, and when asked to drop the title to Claudio Castagnoli in the opening match of Death Before Dishonor, he promptly had a heated discussion with Tony Khan over how he had been treated and quit the company. He still did the job, losing to Castagnoli at the show, but has not been seen in ROH or AEW since, only making sporadic appearances on the independents, which is a shame because a man as talented as Gresham deserves to be showcased on the biggest stage possible.
Man, what happened with Gresham? Like, I'm not sure if it's just some, like, beef between Khan and him, but yeesh. I guess someone just, I don't know, like I said, I never met the guy, so I honestly did not see that. Maybe he just thought, like, it was a downgrade, or maybe he just didn't think, maybe the big time's not for me. I don't know, maybe he was just ready, but who knows? He might show up in WWE sooner or later. Anyway, next up, number 7.
Number 7. Sammy Guevara keeps getting in fights.
Oh, boy.
Sammy Guevara sure has caught the brunt of the heat from fans over his backstage scuffles this year. First, you had his altercation with Eddie Kingston, which put a stop to their planned match at All Out. An altercation that got Kingston suspended as he pie-faced Sammy after Sammy reportedly blew off Kingston's taking issue with one of Sammy's promos calling him a fat piece of shit. Eddie has since admitted to being at fault for this, but that doesn't mean Sammy hasn't been hated on vociferously since then. Then you get the 2-for-1 deal on Sammy Guevara fights, as just a couple of months later you had another backstage dust-up, this time between Sammy and Andrade El Idolo. This came after Andrade made a number of comments about wanting out of AEW and was prepared to fight Sammy at Dynamite. Dynamite came, and somehow Andrade and Sammy were allowed to be within an arm's reach of each other, evident by Andrade punching Sammy and getting himself suspended. Again, that night saw Sammy on the receiving end of the heavy heat from the crowd, even though the accounts of what happened said Sammy was not involved in the violence.
Really?
Number 6,
I guess
Shane McMahon gets fired. Ah yes, the most notable instance of a McMahon leaving WWE.
Okay, sorry, I gotta go back to that last one, but yeah, it doesn't sound like Sammy, other than the first one, I think people just unjustly hate him. I guess they're just still salty about that push he had. You know, with the TNT title? Yeah, fair enough. I mean, if you're trying to... I think he still has that go-away heat. I mean, if you could get rid of that, I think most people will try to start taking his side, but I don't know. Hard to say, right? I don't know if he knows it, but maybe he's just... I don't know. Hard to say. But still, yeah, seems kind of unfair to Sammy. No offense, but I don't know. Moving on.
This year.
Oh, hey, Shane.
It had been since WrestleMania 37 that we had seen the tennis shoe wearing thumb son of Vince McMahon, but Shane finally made his return to WWE in the Royal Rumble match.
Oh yeah.
Finally is a word to be used loosely because I don't think anyone was particularly awaiting Shane's return with bated breath, least of all were those involved in the match. Shane reportedly made such a kerfuffle trying to have the Royal Rumble be about himself and not the 27 actual wrestlers and 2 celebrities involved in the match, and he angered a number of those involved, including Brock Lesnar, who is about as much fun to anger as a hornet's nest. Shane was so insistent on seeing through his ideas for the match that were described as devoid of logic that Vince saw to it that he was removed from the company immediately after, saying Shane would never get another pop in WWE as long as he was there. He's not anymore, but I don't think Shane is likely to be the next of Triple H's rehires. Number 5, Kota Ibushi's accusations. Well, here's a tricky one. Kota Ibushi is best known to fans for being one of the most gifted performers in the world, having won nearly every championship in New Japan Pro Wrestling, including 2 straight G1 climaxes, and also he was Kenny Omega's lover. It has been a while since we've seen the Golden Star in the ring, as he's yet to return from a particularly nasty shoulder injury he suffered in his match with Kazuchika Okada in the final of the G1 Climax in 2021. However, his 2022 was notable for another reason, as the typically quiet and reserved Ibushi took to Twitter to call out New Japan management for sexual harassment and abuse of power. Things have been incredibly quiet on this front since the comments were made back in the spring, but New Japan did make a public apology to Ibushi with company president Takami Obari, saying they've worked to have an open discussion with Ibushi. Reports said Gato was working to smooth things over between the 2 sides, but oh, what a tricky situation this all is. Ibushi did pose for a picture over a lovely meal with his ex in September, but otherwise we have no idea when we might see Ibushi in the ring again. Hopefully, it's soon. Number 4, Naomi and Sasha Banks walk out.
Oh, I remember
Sasha Banks being passed over for Ronda Rousey, resulting in Banks walking out of WWE for the remainder of 2022, is the biggest unforced error of the wrestling year. Sasha Banks and Naomi won the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship at WrestleMania, but their reign did not last long at all. The tag belts were about as prestigious as the Quizlemania Tag Team Championship at that point, with years of shoddy booking detracting heavily from the excitement that the belts started with. One might think putting the titles on two stars like Sasha and Naomi might change that outlook, but one might be totally wrong. Instead, the reported plan after WrestleMania was for Sasha Banks and Naomi to both lose to SmackDown Women's Champion Ronda Rousey in separate singles matches. Yikes. Not content to have themselves and their title reign devalued when they were doing their best to make the most out of it, they walked out of the May 16th episode of Raw, just in time for the WWE commentators to call them unprofessional on air. There have been conflicting reports about the actual status of Sasha and Naomi since then, with some saying they've been released, and others denying that being the case. And now with those in power at WWE no longer being in power, every big show will in some way feature predictions from fans saying this is finally when Sasha and Naomi will be back. Royal Rumble 2023. Number 3, MJF's pipe bomb. MJF's pipe bomb is an oversimplification. MJF is this generation's Brian Pillman, outside of the actual Brian Pillman of this generation, Brian Pillman, but in MJF's case, he is the only one in on the work and no one else really knows for sure. This all started with MJF's backstage blow-up with the leader of the TK crew, Tony Khan, with MJF reportedly upset about not being given a raise despite his impeccable work. This rift between the two sides built until MJF nearly no-showed his match with Wardlow at AEW Double or Nothing, with a plane ticket being bought to take MJF home from Vegas. MJF did the match, getting squashed by Wardlow, but then Wednesday came and AEW put a microphone in MJF's hand. He said a lot of stuff, including he called Tony Khan a mark before the show cut to commercial. It was a whole ordeal, and boy, ordeal is a word coming up a lot in this one, with MJF only returning to AEW at All Out when everything in the company finally got smoothed out. Oh, wait a minute. Number 2, Brawl Out. I don't think anybody heard about this story. We didn't do any coverage of it. CM Punk's AEW return didn't seem like it could be going any better up to the point he won the AEW World Championship at Double or Nothing. And then he broke his foot and AEW went to hell. He returned from his injury and immediately shot on Hangman Page in the ring, which set off a bunch of alarms, and then All Out happened, and it seemed to go alright, with Punk winning back the AEW World title from Jon Moxley, and then Brawl Out happened. CM Punk dropped his gripe bomb, tearing apart the Elite, Hangman Page, and Colt Cabana in one long prepared tirade. The Elite didn't like this and went to Punk's locker room where they all talked out their differences like gentlemen and continued on their way.
Punk,
sorry, that was from an alternate universe where Tempest is allowed to have what he wants. Rather, in this universe we know and are forced to exist in, CM Punk, Ace Steel, and the Elite all had a good old-fashioned Donnybrook match in the locker room, a brawl that saw AEW launch an investigation into the matter and suspend all of those who were involved. Which was very annoying considering 4 of them had just won belts on that very same show. Good to get you all caught up on that little snippet of news I'm sure you all missed. And number 1,
here it is, Vince McMahon.
Vince McMahon is the most successful wrestling promoter in the history of the world. He is also someone who was exposed for having allegedly made a series of hush money payments to cover up multiple incidents of sexual misconduct. Both of those statements are true, and I know which one I think is more important. In April, the Wall Street Journal, a big boy news publication, revealed in an investigation that McMahon had made a $3 million hush money settlement over an alleged affair with a former employee. McMahon stepped down as the CEO and chairman of WWE, but kept his role overseeing creative, so optically for fans, very little had changed. That would not last, however, as that $3 million settlement only grew as they kept digging, resulting in multiple settlements made relating to misconduct claims against McMahon and John Laurinaitis, which by the end totaled $12 million being unearthed. McMahon finally announced his retirement on July 22nd while we were at a party. Look at our shocked faces. More seriously, Vince McMahon leaving WWE is the biggest wrestling news story that didn't involve a death, maybe ever. We never thought it would happen, but boy, it sure did. Vince McMahon, hold bad people accountable for the bad things they do. Merry Christmas! And that's our list. Make sure of...
Jeez. How much... What was going on that Vince was willing to pay $12 million just to keep it hush-hush? Yikes. You know that's bad. I'm just saying. Like, I'm going as I see it, but that is really, really bad. Oof. Yeah, I definitely heard about that. Like, whenever Vince was, like, stepping down, it was like, wait, what? No way. I mean, normally we've seen, like, stuff like this happen before, you know, with the Sarah trial and all that. You'd think, probably just get away with it again. But no, what's turned out, he was removed. I was like, well, I'll be. I think I probably looked outside and be like, huh, stars aren't falling. Not at the end of the world. Sorry, I think that's pretty much speaking for everybody, but I can't say for sure. But let me know what you guys thought when you heard Vince was stepping out of the WWE. Let me know in the comments. So, until next time, guys, let me know what you think was the most controversial. And until next time, like, subscribe for more. I'll see you guys around. Laters.